In this whole succession war, none of the princes, to me, might be hiding a greater secret than Prince Camilla. The prince with the most style and who seems to be the most pretty, but also a bit of the most crazy prince of all of them, might be the most surprising too, or might turn your mind upside down, might blow it up, might twist it and cook it, might literally make that mush. And what I'm talking about is the fact that I really think that she is all playing this crazy, narcissistic bit just so she can finally save all her siblings. Now, why do I say that? Well, to be fair, panels like this don't help. It feels like she is looking forward to killing everybody from these words over here, from her need for the succession war dropout to be biological death rather than anything else, and for this sort of insistence that she has towards it. Well, this might lead you into thinking that she wants to kill everybody. And she does. Don't get me wrong. She does want to kill everybody. But let me explain it a bit further. Their saving grace is in death, at least in her eyes. Now, you see, Camilla has come to the succession war quite prepared, contrarily to what anybody might think. Where she comes in is in the form of a Nen beast that she created herself, not the one that was appointed. She has mastered none. I mean, first of all, to me, there is definitely something to be appreciated about the fact that she has mastered none. And for her personality type, or at least what she is presented to be, somebody selfish, self indulgent, who seems to see herself at such a high place and so narcissistic, it's a bit of a surprise to see her create a whole Nen ability. To even imagine her going through Nen training. To me, all of that seems quite improbable. But here she is, she has a whole Nen ability. Why would that be? But other than that, it's the ability of the Nen itself, the ability to bring somebody back to life. Now, first of all, just from that description, I'm not gonna lie, it feels contrarian for her ability to be only able to activate after she got kicked out of the succession war. Because if biological death is what kicks somebody out of the succession war, well, she might as well pack her bags and head for the fifth deck, because she is out. She has achieved biological death and got revived after that biological death, which to me seems contrarian for somebody who wants the throne and to kill all her siblings. Now you might say that's crazy. She's just a bit crazy. She's just a bit out of her mind. But then this is where it gets interesting. She's not too out of her mind to concoct plans, to talk about planning and having a whole strategy behind her actions. From the get go, she lets us know that she has to get rid of Prince Benjamin and Ninth Prince Alkenberg, and it is something that is understood. To be fair, she even has some sort of priority of taking care of these two princes, which to me doesn't seem like a surprise. Hulkenberg might have been a surprise before, but as of the recent chapters and revelations about his true background, we can understand where she comes from. They have the most power before her. Literally, they both have the most power since they both came from Queen Unma. Now, she is out here giving orders like crazy, and crazy orders to add to that, to kill Hulkenberg. But I think that that is also part of the plan. But this was all planification that I feel like had all the ways it could go well, or that could have been planned better. But here's what happens. We understand that Camilla has these soldiers, the have-nots, people that have been rejected by casting society for the longest time, but she has rehabilitated them and brought to them honor and great wealth. Well, great wealth. She has brought them regular lifestyles. She has brought them a way for respect and a way for them to simply be regular, respectable citizens. She has brought them rights. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm trying to say she brought rights to people that had no rights. And I would argue that it seems pretty selfish because these people have these powers and these rituals that might help her in the succession war. And you might even argue that maybe that's the whole reason why she went for these people. But then again, she doesn't seem to be the one that invited the reintegration of these practices. It seems that they reintegrated these practices just so that they could help the prince that helped them so much. It really doesn't feel like she gave the order. And why I think there is elements that actually help in proving that is simply the fact or simply the events of the first attack. Now, let me clarify a couple of points here because I feel like I have to. First of all, what I understand is the reason for the attacks on Benjamin and Hulkenberg being planned is their position as the strongest. Being the strongest, they have the most amount of power and more chances to stop her own plans. Second, when I'm talking about the prince and the king and the rules that Camilla wants to change, or at least the rules that she's hoping are in place in the succession war, I'm thinking that she understood that there were already rules in the succession war and was hoping at the very least that actual rules in place just stop at biological death. She already understands that the succession war is something in place, and I'm sure that she has observed that Nasubi is the only sibling that is legitimate from the last succession war that is seen to be alive, which to me is probably what made her conclude that death is an absolute part of this succession war, and in the best case scenario, it is the only necessity, and that is when Camilla went for the first attack, the first assault against Benjamin, right when she decides to go for Muse over here. For the attack against Muse, she comes out and says it outright. She's trying to go for Benjamin. To me, it comes out of nowhere. It comes out of nowhere for everybody else pretty much, even for the boy Muse, who was not ready for this. But she clearly wants to get rid of Benjamin fast, and she goes as it alone too, even though she has a whole set of guard, a whole set of warriors that could have helped her, and warriors that must an end too. This is simply looking sort of rough, but that's the plan she went for. She is going after Benjamin's throat. So she gets killed, her ability reveals itself to be able to kill Muse. It kills Muse and revives her. But now, if she knows of her guard, if she knows that her guards have the abilities to attack Benjamin, why would she go out of her way to go herself? Now you might say, well, she's crazy, and I would argue that you might be right to some extent. She is sort of crazy, but she still had a plan, and she has to have been emotional in that moment for her to throw away the plan of following the whole curses. And that's where we see step two. Why was she so mad? Also, I just want to make a parallel and talk about the fact that she asked Queen Dwazul to take care of Hulkenberg and not one of the guards that she has stationed, which to me confirms absolutely that she has no idea that her guards are willing to sacrifice themselves for her goals. But then, like I was saying, she might be a bit crazy, and there is something that probably prompted her to take action so fast. She was calm, she was chilling, but then she seems hella mad, she seems hella flustered. In these moments, her hair is down. She is not out like usual. She went out to kill, and she was even calm during this encounter with Benjamin, which comes as a surprise. Why so soon? Why so serious? Why so mad? And after that encounter, she even proclaims to her guards to not try to defy, or at least she says it in her distortive ways. If you go, well, your family will be the one dying. Do you want to do that, or do you want to let me do it? And in that way, it is such a selfless thing, hidden in such a selfish way of saying it, that I think we might miss it. But I think that she is sort of trying to protect her guards, and she's trying to go alone. And then we keep it going. From there, she goes for it, and it fails. It fails, and she gets her arm broken, and she sweats a storm. Now, this is where I have to talk about why I think she actually got mad. And this is gonna be sort of speculative, but it makes sense in the context. This actually happens, this whole assault happens about 3 chapters after the death of Momose, probably just enough time for the death of Momose to be announced, which prompted her to take action faster than she wanted. Now she has to go fast because, well, she can't let the dead stay dead for too long, probably one of the aspects of her Nen ability. Because to me, if her Nen ability is something that cannot be shared, why is it in the form of a liquid? And why is it in the form of, at least why is it taking the shape of an intermediary means of transportation? Why is it so out in the open, I might say? And I think that that is one of the aspects of it. This simple process of providing this liquid is something that she might be able to share with her siblings. And going forward, the longer the time she waits, the less chances she have to revive Momose. And so it sort of ruins her plans, which to me is what prompted her to attack so fast. I don't think it's just out of stupidity. I don't think it's out of a lack of mental capacity or simply too much trust in herself. I do think that this was all due to the plans having to be rushed forward. And so there is also this scene of the sweat. To me, this sweat is not only sweat. To me, this is probably an after effect of the Nen ability, because this sweat came about after Furikov broke her arm, which to me means that there is probably an effect of the Nen ability we don't understand, so that damage that is not deadly will push out an amount of life force out of you, which to me seems like this is what the case is. And so we go forward. So we've already established that I don't think that Camilla has contacted the have-nots for the sake of her own gain per se. And we've established that I do not think that this rule is something that favors her as much as we might think. And pushing forward, I do not think that this attack against Benjamin was so much so due to the fact that she wanted to simply go and attack her out of craziness. And now this is where I have to talk about what is actually on Camilla's mind, or what was she trying to do so that she could save her siblings. Like I said in the beginning, I do think that she's trying to kill them. I think that she's trying to kill all of her siblings, but that is just so she can revive them. She is actually trying to revive everybody else, and by doing so, she was hoping that by going through this whole process, she might be able to save all her siblings. By going through the whole process, she might be able to save all her siblings. And so the plan would have been to take care of the princess that might have been the most prominent in blocking her way or stopping her from going through with her process, and taking care of those princes, being the first prince and the ninth prince. Although the ninth prince is kind of chill, so I don't know why. uh, she would have to go for them first. Then she would have to take care of all the other princes and maybe revive them later and see if it works. That to me seems like what plan she had in mind for some reason. I'm not saying it's a genius plan. I'm not saying it's the best plan. I'm saying that, well, she might be working for something better, or some betterment for her people. And funnily enough, when you look at this scene describing all the princes, she's greedy. Now, greedy in the sense of, well, for greedy in the sense of wanting to save everybody is something that I still struggle to find. But I do honestly think the secret behind this whole thing is that she's actually trying to save everybody. Now, that was my agenda that I was trying to push on you. Hope you liked it. Hope you enjoyed the whole rant over here. But that's it. I really do think that Camilla might be hiding the biggest offset that we've ever seen, the biggest turnaround, the biggest plot twist, just so she can show you that she actually pretty chill like that. As I say that, I'm reminded of Camilla's Nen ability. Keep in mind that Camilla has a whole Nen beast that she knows is brought upon by the will of the succession war. This Nen beast will fight for Camilla so that the succession war might happen as it should. But what Camilla says is that she is not willing to associate with the Nen beast. She is not willing to, use the powers of the Nen Beast. She is literally refusing it, and it might seem like some sort of selfish against choice from her, so that she can only use her Nen Beast. She only trusts her own power to be worthy of use, or to be worthy of using in the succession war. But let me bring you another aspect to it. I think that the Nen Beast is also, since it is part of the will of the succession war, and we've seen what it did to Alkenberg, we can argue that she doesn't want to use it because she doesn't want to see a change in herself, or she doesn't want the Nen Beast to take actions that she wouldn't want to be taken place. She wouldn't want simply actions that might actually ruin the whole succession war, or ruin her plan to save her siblings. And strangely enough, her design, which might be argued to be a jellyfish of some sort or some sort of tree, to me it sort of feels like a tree that is giving. Well, that's another argument that I don't want to get into. But simply put, her design is really interesting to me because it seems like it screams, I don't know, it screams less selfish than I would say. And the fact that she doesn't want to use it, to me, is something that is actually positive. But then beyond that, if we want to really be putting our tinfoil hat on, I want to argue about the fact that to use her own net ability, she has to be in Zetsu. And we might have thought that that was just a condition, but it might be a condition. But I think that in preparation for the succession war and making sure that her own net ability doesn't stop her own plans, she might have learned an ability that allows her to stay in Zetsu, making sure that the Nen Beast almost never comes out, making therefore sure that she is the one in control of all the actions, and she is the one able to save the day. Now I think that might have been it. Now I think that I've brought upon all my arguments for the defense of Camilla. I'm willing to hear what everybody has to say. Any counter arguments, any counter agenda. It's time for Hunter x Hunter agenda. And my agenda is that Camilla is fully prepared to save everybody. I'm thinking that she might try to kill everybody just so she can save them and make sure that they get out of the succession war safely. That's it for me. Have a good one. Thank you.